Hello, today we will begin with business research methods. Business research is the defining and redefining of problems that persist in the organization or an business. Research methods are those techniques that are used for conducting of research. Research methods refer to the behavior and instruments used in selecting and constructing research techniques. There are various kinds of methods or instruments that can be applied to a research process. There are many users of business research methods. These users can be categorized into business and corporations, public sector agencies, consulting firms, research institutes, non-government organizations, non-profit organizations, and independent researchers and consultants. Research methods and techniques. Now there is a basic question which comes into point. What are business methods and techniques? Business methods are those which are applied, or the methods the researcher uses in order to conduct a research. Research methods. In order to study the research methods, the various type of researches can be, first one can be library research. The method which can be applied into this is analysis of the historical research, and the technique which is followed is the recording of notes, content analysis, tape and film, listening and analysis. These all kinds of techniques can be used by a researcher in order to conduct any historical or the pre-researches which are already being conducted. The another method which can be applied into the library research is analysis of the documents. The analysis of documents applies statistical complications and manipulations, reference and abstract, guides, and content analysis. These kinds of or types of methods are applied into when we are conducting a documentation or the research into the documents. The another type of research is the field study, which generally a researcher goes to the field and then conducts a research. The method can be categorized into non-participant direct observation, that is whenever you have direct observation into certain things. These methods apply, or the technique which is applicable into these methods is observational behavior, scales, uses of scorecards, uses of the scorecards. The another method of business research is the participant observation, that is where the participant is directly involved into the observing the researcher. The technique or method which is applied into this is interactional recording, possible use of tape records, photographic techniques. The another method is the mass observation, which is there in the field research. These kind of mass observation involve recording mass behavior, interview using independent observers in the public places. For example, these interviews are conducted by the news channels which conduct these kind of mass observation when you have a mass group of people available to you. The another method is mail questionnaire, where you mail questionnaires or prepare questionnaires, a list of questions, and you mail to the respondents or the sample of people who are under the study of the researcher, and then you try to seek the response from them. The method or technique which is applied into these mail questionnaire is identification of social and economic background of the respondent. For example, in case you are not aware of the economic background of the respondent, it is very difficult to get responses to a mail questionnaire. A mail questionnaire also has an important limitation that whenever the respondent tries to find out time to the questionnaire to be filled in, the questionnaire has to be framed in such a way that the respondent can easily read the question and understand the language and understand what the researcher is trying to seek into, and then is able to respond. The another method is opinionaire. Opinionaire applies the use of aptitude scale, projective techniques, and the use of sociometric techniques. Into the field study, the another type or method of research method is personal interview. A personal interview is a kind of technique where a researcher personally visits the respondent and then tries to seek answers to the questions and questions and the objectives of the study. And the technique which is followed into this personal interview method is: interview uses a detailed schedule of with the open and closed questions. Now, open and closed questions is the set of questions which a researcher frames earlier and then tries to seek answers to that from the respondent. Now, open questionnaire is that kind of questionnaire where the researcher has left to the respondent to answer, where there is a no hard and fast rule that he has to answer into yes, no, or you can say right, wrong kind of a thing, or where you have 2-3 options available to the researcher. Now, where 2-3 options are available, or the respondent has only can answer only into yes, no kind of a thing, which is known as diametric questionnaires. These are known as the closed questionnaire, where the respondent has to answer into the fixed pattern only, where he doesn't have any freedom to speak or give his own opinion. The another method is the focused interview. Focused interview is the interviewer focuses attention upon the given experience and its effects. The next is group interview, where the researcher tries to seek answers to a particular group and then he comes to the generalized statements. In this kind of method, the technique which is followed is survey method, the opinion method, and may also follow up a questionnaire also. The another method is telephone survey, where the researcher tries to seek answers over a phone. These kind of studies try to seek you have list of people or respondents or the sample of people into the study, and then you try to seek questions from these people on over a telephone. In this kind of also you have set of questionnaire already available with the researcher, because a respondent may not have that much time to talk on telephone. Next method is case study and life history. Now, case study and the life history, these kind of methods, they follow collection of data of intensive character and cross-sectional collection of data for intensive analysis of the research. Now, the last type of research into this is laboratory research. Laboratory research is that kind of research where the situations can be controlled by the researcher himself. That means there are no external factors which are affecting the research process as a whole. Now, the method which is applied into this is small group of study of random behavior or role play can be there into this which can be applied in the laboratory research. The technique which can be followed to analyze these role plays and your random behavior is your audio visual recording devices. use of the observers can be the important instrument which is helpful in recording the all the behavior of your respondents and into this method. Now coming down to the scope of business research. Now the scope of business research means where these business research can be applicable and to whom it is beneficial. Now, general business conditions and the corporate researches is the one important area where business research is used most frequently. They use this business research in for short-term and long-term forecasting, business and industry trends when they are trying to identify the past trend and depending of the business and industry as a whole, global environment, inflation and pricing. Whenever a researcher is trying to identify the what is the inflation rate or the price of particular product, they apply business research methods. Plant and warehouse location acquisition is the another point where they have applied. Management and organizational behavior research. Into management and the organizational behavior also business research is useful, and they can be applied into where you have to identify the total quality management of the people and the organization, morale and job satisfaction of the employees, where you have leadership, where you want to study the leadership styles in the organization, employee productivity, organizational effectiveness, structural issues, absenteeism and turnover, and the organizational climate. Into the financial and accounting researches also business research is applicable. Whenever you have a kind of mergers and acquisition, or you have forecast of financial interest and trend, whenever you have want to study the stock, bond and commodity value prediction and the capital formation alternatives, and there are certain risk return trade-off, portfolio analysis, impact of taxes, research on financial institution, where you want to study the credit risk and the cost analysis part, you can apply the business research methods into the researches in the organization. Now, the whole of these scope of business research can be categorized into three groups mainly. First group is concerned with the collection of data, and these methods will be used where the data already available is not sufficient to arrive at a particular situation. There you apply the business research. The second group consists of the statistical technique, where there is a use of statistical technique. You can establish a relationship between the data and the unknown factors, or when you want to study the cause and effect relationship, you apply the business research. Now the third category is the where you want to evaluate the accuracy of results, whether the results which you have got through your whole research are accurate or not. When you want to study this, you can apply the business research methods. Now, research methods falling in the above stated last two categories, that is where you can apply the statistical techniques and you want to test the accuracy of data, you have analytical, these are known as analytical tools of the research. Coming down to the criteria of good research. Now, what is a good research? A good research is the purpose of the research should be clearly defined, and the common concept the use in the research should be defined in such a way that the respondents also understand in a easy way. Now, second is the research process used should be described in sufficient detail to permit another researcher to repeat the research for further advancement. That is, the limitations of the research should be clearly defined so that it is easy for the readers or the researchers to conduct further research, and the further research could be undertaken on the basis of your previous work or the literature work. Next is the criteria of a good research is the procedural design of the research should be planned to yield results that are as objective as possible. a researcher should report with complete frankness all the flaws, all the limitations, all the procedural design which are available in the research, and eliminate all the effects upon the finding. The analysis of data should be sufficiently adequate to reveal its significance, and the method of analysis used should be appropriate. The data which is used in the research should be such that it could be validated and your reliability could be checked easily. Now, the conclusions which are there of the research should be confined to those which are justified to the data, and data which is used in the research, and limited to those for which the data provide an adequate basis for. It is also important for a researcher that greater confidence is in the research is warranted if the researcher is experienced and has a good reputation in the research and is a person of integrity. Now, coming down to the qualities of a good research. Now, basically, a good research is a systematic. It is planned in such a way that it flows in a systematic process, or step-by-step process is being followed. A good research has to be logical. A logical process is being followed, like into deduction and induction method, which are the important into a good research which is there. Also, a good research has to be empirical. That is, it is applicable into practical sense, and all the business research, they are applicable into the organization. Now, good research is replicable. That is, it would be conducted further. For example, if a good research doesn't have any limitation, that is not possible. A researcher must identify the limitations of the research, and then it for the reader or for the researchers, it is easy to identify the flaws and the limitations, and then they can conduct further research and they go through that. Now, there are various problems which are encountered by the researchers in India. The most important is the lack of scientific training in the methodology of research. This is the most important part where in India, which is lacking. The researcher lacks into the methodology of research. This means the researcher is not able to identify which method or technique or which test of hypothesis is to be applied, and when it is to be applied, what are the assumptions, whether they have to apply non-parametric test or whether they have to apply the parametric test. They are not aware of these kind of things. Therefore, this is the main problem into India. Insufficient interaction. Researchers in India, they are lacking data also. They have insufficient interaction with the respondents in the collection of data. There is need for generating the confidence that the information or data obtained from the business unit will not be misused. Whenever a researcher seeks or tries to take data from the business organization people or the managers, they think that the data will be misused, or it would be the information will be leaked. So therefore they try to hide things, and this is the main problem where a good research cannot take place in India, and lacks in India. Research studies, they are overlapping one another and are taken quite often for what they want for. For example, in India, the researchers are going through the existing work, and then they are conducting different kind of researches, and a lot of overlapping of work is going on in India. Not a new thing is not coming up in business research as such. Now, adequate information. There has to be adequate information available for the researcher to conduct a research, and which is again lacking and a problem for the researchers in India. There does not exist a good code of conduct for the researchers also into India. They don't have a proper dress code, even they don't have a good kind of timings for them to conduct the research. There is also a difficulty of adequate and timely secretarial assistance for the conducting of research, or when you have to feed in the data and when you have to conduct the research or the which test is to be applied. These kind of things are lacking. Library management and functioning is not satisfactory in many places. The all the information or the literature review is available in some place in one library, and some work is available into another library. A researcher has to go and visit all these libraries first, and then they gather data, which is a very tedious job, and cost is involved too. There is also a problem that many of our libraries, they are not able to get copies of old or new acts and rules, reports and the other government publication in time, which again is a problem for the researcher. There is also difficulty of timely availability of published data from the various governments and other agencies doing job in our country. Also, there is problem of conceptualization now. When in case you have all the data available with you, or you have all the analysis done, you are through with the analysis, all your tests are being applied, you have applied all the analysis, literature review into research. Now there is again a problem of conceptualizing, yeah, that is documentation of your research. Researchers in India, they are lacking into these methodologies of again documenting their research. Now, I would like to summarize the role of research in several fields of applied economies, whether related to business or to the economy as a whole, has greatly been increased in modern times. As we have studied in the slides, there is a lot of scope of business research in modern times in India, along with the problems. In case these problems are being eliminated, a good business research can be conducted in India with the new thoughts and new ideas. Now, the essence of research lies in the fact when the researcher applies his knowledge and knows how to go about making a right decision about the various steps involved in finding solution to the problematic issues. With this, I would like to end. Thank you.